one with the hi-hat. There's this oneness that happens. It's really pretty cool. Plus the band really likes it. When I was in college, my band director told me, he said, that it's kind of like, he wants me to be like salt. And I said, okay, I totally don't get what you're talking about. He said, if it's not in there, you really miss it, but you don't want to just like go, oh, I want a big spoonful of salt to eat right now. It's something that you just want to kind of be in there. I wish we had a whole rhythm session that we could demonstrate this with, but we don't have that. But is everybody with me so far? Okay, cool. So now we're just talking about the logistics of how we're going to get the sound. So I'm looking at my little bullet points here, how to get the sound. What you want to do is, if you have a guitar with a couple of pickups, which most of us do, the front pickup and not the back. And all you got to do is listen to that sound. That's the front, the neck pickup, versus, and now I'm playing the band. Not so much different. Okay. Also, I forgot to put it on the list, but I tend to strum a little bit farther away from the bridge and maybe a little bit more over the pickup. And sometimes I'll even play over some of the frets, just to try to get that sound. Okay. And again, if you can picture an acoustic arch top. Thank you. How about a hand for my assistant, Mr. Dana? So anyway, we're talking about the guitar stuff we did. We talked about being the glue between the bass and drums. The thing about being almost sensed or felt rather than heard. And sometimes I'll go up to I'm doing feedback clinics this weekend. So I'll go up to a guitar player and say, hey, let's try something. Once you turn down about half the volume that you're at, only play twice as hard. And I go, well, okay. So he turns down, that's too far. So he turns way down, and then he just kind of digs in a little bit more and get that sound. And that's the sound we're talking about. Okay, so pressing on here so we can get through a lot of stuff. A lot of short quarter notes. And what I do is, if you're a guitar player, you know this, there's a certain amount of resistance, especially if you put on heavier strings. So the guitar's going to want to push your fingers off the neck, so you just let it, okay? So it's kind of like, I'm not keeping everything, let me show you what I'm not doing. I'm not doing that. What I am doing is this. See the difference? And I'm letting the strings kind of push me back off the fingerboard. I'm not trying to do anything fancy with muting, doing palm mutes and stuff like that. You don't really need to do that. Now, check this out. Tell me the difference in your mind, in your ear, between this and what do you hear now? Maybe not the first way. Okay, the second way. Okay. I wouldn't say one is better than the other, but what's your ear telling you? One way is thump, 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 thump. What's the second way? Long, short, and putting a little extra love on 2 and 4. Okay? Does anybody like the all 4 beats the same length way better? Anybody like the long, short better? Okay. There's some kind of debate amongst guitar geeks such as myself about which is more authentic and which is more traditional. And I would say play the one that sounds the best. I really doubt anybody's going to come up and scream at you because you're doing long, short, you know, it's probably not going to happen. But putting a little extra accent on 2 and 4, who else in the rhythm section is putting a little something on 2 and 4? Drummer with the hi-hat. So there's kind of a reason to do it because it lets you sort of be that Zen one thing with the hi-hat. Okay? So that's stuff to think about too. Now let's take a time out and flip your handout over, and there's a bunch of chord diagrams. If you're not a guitar player, you're going, what the heck is this? And the answer is, it would take too long to explain it. Just go along for the ride. However, everybody can probably figure out what R, flat 3, flat 7, all that stuff. What do you think that is? That's all the stuff that's in the chord. So guitar players, we have a tendency, if we're getting a little lazy, to just learn shapes on a grid, on a fingerboard, and we just call it done, and we don't think beyond that. There's nothing wrong with chord diagrams for a guitar player as long as, this is really important, as long as you make sure that you know what, when I do this, I know I'm playing the root, the flat 7th, and the flat 3rd of the minor chord. And the name of the minor chord is where the root is. So guitar players, you know what I'm playing, right? What am I playing? A minor 7. A flat minor 7 is here, B flat minor 7 is there. I know where the lowered seventh and the lowered third is, okay? So here's what I did. Freddie Green, there's a lot of different chord voicings, and I could have done some big long handout with 18 pages, and I just didn't have time, frankly. And plus, in a 50-minute clinic, I don't think we would have gotten through everything. So here's what I did. The three most common types of chords that you come up with in music are what? Major, minor, and dominant. Those are the big three, right? So what I did is I gave you a major and a minor and a dominant chord voicing rooted on either the 6th E string or the 5th A string. So that's really 6 chords you gotta learn. Now, there's really 8 there on top, and here's why. In the older school guys, when they had a major chord, they would very often play a major 6th chord. And more modern guys like to play a major 7th chord, and there's no reason why you can't switch back and forth between. So if you look at the very, very first thing, there's a chord diagram with a little Roman numeral 2 over it, and then to its right, another diagram with 5 over it, 5, 7, and then going still to the right, you have a big Roman numeral 1. So 2, 5, 1. Is that important, Dad? Usually, right? So I figure, rather than just say, hey, here's a handout of chords, go learn all this paper. Rather than say that, I'm going to say, hey, listen, 2, 5, 1s are really common in jazz. If you're going to play this music, you're going to be playing these a super long time. You should learn them in all 12 keys, and here's how Freddie would play. I think that's pretty cool. So, in the key of G, what's a 2, 5, 1? A minor 7, D 7, G major. The beauty of this is, oh, and by the way, these are all 3-note chord voicings. So to make a minor 7 chord, don't I need a 1, a flat 3, a 5, and a flat 7? Well, that's 4 notes technically, but you kind of don't need the 5th. You know why? It doesn't really, it's still, without the 5th, it's still minor. So the beauty of the 3-note chord voicings is that they sound really clean. They're pretty easy to play because they don't take a lot of fingers. And for dominant chords, how many different ways can you alter or use extensions on a dominant chord? I don't know, man, a ton. Well, with the way Freddie would play it, you don't do any of them. So you're just playing the root and the 3 and the 7, and lowering the 3 and the 7 as you need to. So check this out. You guys said a 2, 5, 1 in G major is A minor, D 7, G, and that's correct. So I'm going to play A minor 7, and there's a bunch of ways you can finger it too. And you notice I didn't put any fingerings down there. Partly it's because I was trying to do this quickly to be ready to leave and come here, but also because I finger them all kinds of different ways depending on, guess what, where I've been or where I'm going. Okay? So it's pretty easy. I mean, check it out. Sometimes I'll play it with these 2 fingers. Sometimes I'll play it with these 2 fingers. If I'm playing finger style, sometimes I'll just bar it. Sometimes I'll do 1, 2, 3. I'll do 2, 3, 4. And sometimes I don't even think of how I'm doing it. Has anybody ever heard Joe Pass play solo guitar? Okay. I was very fortunate as a college student to be able to have studied with him. And I remember going to his house and just going, here's the check, and I just can you just tune? You know, can you like fold your socks? I just want to watch you. I just want to watch you do Joe Pass. You know? And he would play these amazing things with walking bass lines. And I would say, hey, how did you finger that chord? Because I've never seen it that way. He goes, man, I don't know how I fingered it. I just know that I finger it the way that I need to finger it to play. So I don't want you to get all out of the fingers. Okay, so let me press on here. So A minor 7 is here, D 7 is here, and G major 7 is here. I would like you to watch my ring finger on my left hand for a second. A minor 7, D 7, G major 7. What do you notice about my ring finger right here?
Same string.
It's pretty much hugging the string, right? Well, here's what I'm not doing. That's what I'm not doing. So if you want to try to keep your fingers as close to the string as you can, and nothing says I love you to a guitar string like never taking your finger off of the guitar string when you change the chords. So if you're an arranger, what do you call it when you connect notes really well? Called voice leading. So voice leading applies to guitar, just like arranging, just like the vocal music. And the advantage for us is we keep our finger on it. Okay? Now notice that I'm starting this chord progression with a 2, with an A minor chord rooted on the E string. So I'm gonna be able to play 2, 5, and that's a major 7 chord. Now check this out. 2, 5. This is a major 6 chord. Hear the color difference? G major 6, G major 7, G major 6. Sometimes I like to do this. I think it sounds kind of cool. What's my ring finger doing? Nothing. Just sitting there. So you have to try to figure out fingerings that let you be a little bit, some might call it lazy, I call it minimizing energy, minimizing wasted energy. Okay? But don't be moving fingers around if you don't need to. Now, you can't just play everything with this one sequence of chords, because if you wanted to play D minor 7, you would have this young bass here, and now I want to play F minor 7. Oh shoot, oh man, you know, it's just really awkward. So you need more than one way to do stuff. The second way to do stuff is exactly the same thing. It's the next row of chords down. If you look across left to right, it's a 2, 5, 1, only rooting on the 3rd string. So I'm going to play D minor 7, G 7. Watch my pinky on my left hand. D minor 7, G 7. Did my pinky ever leave the G string? Never did. How many of you guys, guitar players, have been playing a bebop chart where it goes chord, 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 and you're trying to make all those chords and playing chord notes? Anybody? It's pretty hard, huh? And you go, and you always feel like you're never quite there sometimes. So doing the Freddie Green thing sounds great. Okay? Let's take a time out. Of anything we've covered so far, anybody have a question about what we've covered so far? Anything on your board? Cool. Press on. Okay, great. All right. If you would flip back to the first page, sometimes Freddie and other guitar players will take a simple chord progression and add in some passive chords. So you guys all know what passive chords are? They're chords that aren't written into the part, but they just sound really good, and they sort of relieve the monotony of maybe 2 measures of a C major chord. So let me see. I don't think I want to necessarily do these in order, so bear with me here. Let's look at the middle thing down. Under some cool tricks, the middle thing. If you have two measures of a dominant chord, what you can do sometimes is kind of borrow that 5 chords cousin of its 2 chord. What I mean is this. Think of the key that has D7 for its 5 chord. In what key is D7 of 5? G. Okay, in that key, what's the 2? A minor 7. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to play A Train. Everybody knows the song, right? Da, ba, da, ba, ba, da. Okay, so here's the D7. That's not super exciting. How about this? Do, 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 do. Is that more fun? Okay, cool. So let's see what's happening. I'm singing the A train. Okay, there's D7, but I'm going to borrow its 2 chord and then go back to D7. Okay? Sounds pretty cool, huh? It's a really simple thing. And if you look right here, look at these 2 fingers right here. Okay, my second and third left hand fingers. You see how lazy I'm trying to be as lazy as I can and just stay really close. So, here's the trick. When you have a dominant chord for a long time, try borrowing the 2 chord that goes along with that 5 dominant chord, and that sounds really cool. Okay? Anybody got a question there? Okay, great. Let's look at the top one. Diminished chords are kind of like the ball bearings of harmony. They really allow chords to glide smoothly from one chord to the next to the next. So let's say I'm going to play A Train, and I have 2 measures of C major 7 before I change. Okay, not super exciting. What can I do to make it better? There's a great trick that a lot of the cats from that era do, and they still do it today too. So here's what I'm going to do. Instead of having 2 measures of a C major chord, 2 measures of a 1 chord, I'm going to go 2 beats of that. What do you think I mean by sharp 1 diminished? Well, that little degree sign is diminished, right? So translate into English. Sharp 1 diminished means what? In this key. C sharp diminished, exactly. You go to the raised root of the key, C sharp, diminished, the 2 minor, D minor, the sharp diminished. What's it going to be? E flat flat diminished, and then you can go right up to the 3 chord, which is E minor. So check this out. Let's see. Wait, actually that works great in rhythm changes. So that's not so much an A string. Y'all know what rhythm changes are? Okay, I'm gonna play some rhythm changes in B flat. See if anything I'm gonna play sounds like something you've heard during our clinic. Sound familiar? Sharp 1 diminished, sharp 2 diminished. What's this look like? What's it sound like? 2 5, 2 5, 2 5. Okay, and then there's a bunch of other substitutions that I'm going to show you right now. With me so far on the passing diminished chords, and I know I'm going super fast. What I did, guys, is I wrote out the diminished chords on the back of page 1 on the second, on the 3rd and 4th columns down, so you can practice those when you get home. Okay, and again, I didn't put any fingerings just because I want to encourage you to find fingerings that A, feel comfortable with you, and B, demonstrate really, really good voice leading. That's what I think is really important. Okay, now, lightning round, tritone substitution. Okay, when you have a dominant chord, you're allowed to put in the game in its place a different dominant 7th chord that's rooted a tritone away. A tone is a whole step, so a tritone would be 10 whole steps. What's another name for a tritone? I know a lot of you guys know this. Augmented or raised fourth, or its equal twin, the diminished or lower fifth. So whatever it doesn't matter what you call it, but we call it a tritone substitution. So if I'm playing a tune that has an A7 chord in it, can anybody tell me what a tritone away from A is? E flat. Now check this out. Here's the Freddie Green 3-note A7 chord whistle. Okay? Watch where these 2 notes are. Here's E flat 7. Notice anything? A7, E flat 7. The top notes aren't changing, are they? So A7 and E flat 7 are essentially the same chord, except for what? The root. One's A, one's E flat. Okay? So knowing that is really, really neat. Because what I can do is do something like this. Instead of playing E minor, A7, D minor, let's see, let me look at the example. Yeah, that's the example I put on there. Look at the very bottom of that front page. E minor, A7, D minor, G7, C major. Okay, that's a pretty common chord progression. You know, it's not super crazy. Here's what I'm going to do now, though. I'm going to use tritone substitution, and you're going to get the thing on the right, and that's kind of too it's hard for you to play and say all that stuff on the right-hand side at the same time. So just follow along in the handout, but I'm doing the bottom right-hand thing. Sounds pretty cool. B flat 7 goes right into A7. E flat 7, D7, its tritone sub is A flat 7, takes me right into G7. Its tritone sub is D flat 7, takes me right into C. Here's the cool thing about tritone substitutions. What's the tritone substitution for C7? G flat 7 or F sharp, same thing. What's the tritone substitution for G flat 7? C7. So they're kind of self-referencing, right? So check it out. There's only 6 pairs to memorize. There's like 6 tritone substitutions because C and G flat and C, that's the same thing. So it's pretty easy when you think about it to remember 6 things. Also, the beauty of the guitar is its sort of grid-like layout. So a tritone makes this diagonal shape. So if you can't, think of a diminished fifth, it's too hard or whatever, don't. Just make a diagonal shape on your guitar. This note and this note are tritones. G, C sharp. C sharp 2, what's this note? G, it's another tritone. Okay. So the tritone substitution thing is a really, really common part of the jazz language. And I can remember there's this album called Virtuoso by Joe Pass. Anybody heard that album? It's pretty humbling, actually. But I remember hearing Joe play a thing on that album where he kind of went, and thinking, if I could only play that, I could die happy. It was the coolest thing. And then I figured out that it's a series of tritones, and if you were to kind of do it in slow motion, here's that little diagonal that we talked about. Here's that little diagonal. And watch my third finger as I'm doing this. I'm sorry, my ring finger. Never leaves the G string, right? So you can do some pretty amazing stuff. Once you get, I think when you get a little bit of the theory and a little bit of the guitar technique, and you kind of marry those two ideas, it's pretty amazing what you can do. Okay, now, a couple other things going back to Freddie Green.